What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's watchlist time for Game Week 24. Now, we are still some time away from the deadline, of course. So this is kind of more like rough ideas of players that I'm thinking about, possibly changes I need to make to my squad. There's obviously double game weeks to think about and stuff like that. So before we jump into the players, I kind of want to give you an insight into my team of why I'm thinking of these specific ones on the list, okay? So there's a few kind of issues I see with my team or things to think about. One is Man United have a double game week in 25, so I probably want to keep Ronaldo. That means I have to figure out how to get Salah without selling him. I've got 4 million in the bank, but it would mean selling Jota or Foden, right? That is a possibility for me this week. Obviously, selling Jota frees up a Liverpool spot. And in my defence, I've got Dawson. I'm not sure how happy I am about him, how confident I am about clean sheets and stuff like that. And obviously, Alonso doesn't play for 3 in the next 4 game weeks as well. So that's the kind of key areas of my team that I'm looking at maybe swapping around a little bit, which will explain why the players that are on the list, right? So if you enjoy it, give it a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. Let's jump into it. All right, let's start off with Robertson. You see the setup from the intro that I'm freeing up potentially a Liverpool spot, and I will talk in future videos before the deadline for Game Week 24 why I'm possibly going to sell Jota and whether you could consider it too if you own him. But if I do, then there's a spot for Robertson. So again, these are just rough ideas. I don't necessarily have 7.1 million lying around for a defender, but I might do soon. I might be able to get that cash in the bank for him, and his ownership's quite low, and I do think he's one of those players in FPL that maybe a lot of you don't, but I definitely do. You kind of forget just how good he is, because Trent is just obviously that little bit better, who we've all got, who's very expensive, but Robertson's also great. It just so happens that this season we've only, for most of us, had enough space for one Liverpool defender, and obviously he was injured at the start of the season and stuff like that as well, and Jota's been good, so we've not had really space for him, but now might be the time for it. And when I say he's good, right, his assists per 90 minutes so far are 0.52. So on average, for a 90-minute game, obviously, he's averaging an assist every other game, which is pretty damn good. And his expected assist, 0.24, expected goals, 0.07. These are really good numbers for a defender, right? Forget that he's not a left wing back or anything like that. We know how attacking he is from left back. And I think, again, probably for myself, right, maybe not for all of you, but it's kind of gone under the radar how many attacking returns he's had so far. 8 assists and 1 goal so far this season. Bearing in mind, he has missed games. He missed the Chelsea and Leicester game in 20 and 21. He missed Arsenal in Game Week 12. He missed Palace in Game Week 5. He missed Norwich and Burnley. Like, he's putting out good numbers. And I think the fixtures are okay. Now, we are in a period of FPL where we're really going to have to think, because you want to kind of target double game week players, but how many do you want to bring in, right? You want to bring in some, but how many is too many for Game Week 25? So you've got to think about that. For some of us, we've got to think about how to get Salah back as well. Then there's the blank in Game Week 27 for Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea and Leicester currently as well. So if you've got a bunch of those players, are you going to use a free hit? And if so, which point do you get Robertson in? Because then he comes into West Ham and Brighton afterwards. And if we look at the fixtures past that, you got Man United, Watford, Man City. So they're not that good, although Liverpool do have a couple of games to rearrange as well. So that is worth keeping in mind. And obviously they are one of the best defences in the league too. Like, we all know that. So Burnley, Norwich, West Ham, Brighton, like, there could be 2 or 3 clean sheets there. And obviously attacking potential as well. So I don't necessarily have a really easy or obvious route to get Robertson. But if I free up that third Liverpool spot, I'm definitely looking at him, because unlike Man City, we can be a bit more confident about some of the... Obviously, you've got Cancelo this year, and obviously Laporte's doing pretty well minutes-wise, Foden, etc. as well. But for Liverpool, like, Robertson and Trent pretty much start every single game when they're fit. And obviously you've got Salah as well. So the 3 players kind of fit nicely into place. So I'm definitely looking at how I can bring him in soon. I don't think it's going to be easy, but if I can, I'd like to. Now, obviously, there's been a double game week announced for Game Week 25, so Brighton players are going to be talked about quite a lot. But for my team, I already own Trossard, and I'm not sure I'd recommend bringing him in, to be honest. I'm not looking at Morpay, I'm not looking at Sanchez, and I'm not looking at Lamptey for reasons we'll talk about in a minute. So the only one that I'm genuinely considering bringing in is Cucurella, and I do quite like the thought of getting him in. I wish he was a little bit cheaper. I wish he was the same price as Lamptey. Like, 5.1 million is not extortionate, but when Lamptey is a lot cheaper, and when they both play together, Lamptey is probably the more attacking of the two as well. I would like a cheaper price, right? But for 5.1 million, you get a player that is absolutely nailed on, at least from what we can see so far, right? So if I bring up Brighton's or Cucurella first, sorry. So he came in game week 4 and he's literally started every single game since then. Often plays to 90 minutes as well. I mean, arguably it'd be nice to get him off the pitch after 60 minutes, get the clean sheet locked in, but he plays for 90 minutes, right? So there's attacking potential there. Whereas with Lamptey, right, if you've got Lamptey, obviously you play him and you hope he plays twice, but he did have that pretty big injury. He has had hamstring issues in the past. They are obviously managing, right? If they could play him every single game for 90 minutes, they would, because why wouldn't they, right? He's that good. But against Leicester, he only played 28. He started against Chelsea, but didn't start Palace or Everton. So only in one of the last 4 games has he actually started. And even before that, right, he started 4 in a row, but then before that it was 20 minutes. And you're just not quite sure at what point is he going to be able to start the kind of 2 games in a row, definitely get to 90 minutes and stuff like that, and just have the fitness to do it. So for kind of 0.6 million more, you get the wing back from the other side that's starting every single game. And I still rate Brighton defence pretty decent. You know me, I like to use underlying stats to see this. So their non-penalty expected goals conceded so far is 1.12 per 90 minutes, right? It's just not the best in the league, but they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6th so far for that stat this season. So Brighton defence pretty good. I don't think Man United is an easy game, and obviously they do have the blank in game week 24. So although you're gaining a fixture in 25, if you bring them in this week, you're obviously not getting a fixture this week anyway. So you're not going to bring them in this week if you need to play him. So it's all going to depend on how it fits in. But the fixtures afterwards are pretty good. Like, I think Burnley, Villa, Newcastle, all fairly decent for a clean sheet. Not guaranteed, but you could see 1 or 2 over there. Liverpool's obviously a bit more difficult. And then if we go a bit more longer term, Man City straight away afterwards difficult as well. And then it's Norwich. So this is a player I think you're not necessarily going to want to play every single game, but if you could get the double Burnley, Villa, Newcastle, and then kind of reassess how much of a squad player he's going to be, or whether you need to keep starting him every single week, I think he could be a pretty good option. So I am looking at possibly bringing him in again. In my head right now, I've got Robertson, I've got Cucurella, I've got Luca Dean, I've got Laporte. There's lots of options. It's just, I think defensively, you could probably class Brighton at least level with Villa in terms of how good of a defence they are. Like, some people would probably say Brighton are a little bit better, but even if you put them level, Cucurella's also pretty attacking like Luca Dean, but he's got the extra game in 25 as well. So that's kind of why I'm considering him ahead of him. Laporte's got no fixture to rearrange, but is in the best defence in the league. So these are all things to consider. And right now, I'm not 100% sure which one I would bring in, but I think the double game week, the fact that he's got Burnley, Villa, Newcastle straight afterwards, makes me more likely to go for it. You hope for the big score in the double, and even if he doesn't get it, he's still got the fixtures straight away afterwards. I know Brighton, like, just really quickly, are one of those teams that they always feel like the stats are there, but they always concede. But at some point, you just hope they're going to repay them and they'll get a few clean sheets along the way. So it's not like you're bringing in a dud player with a completely rubbish double. I mean, 2 away games with Man United is not ideal, but there are 2 games at least, and then good fixtures afterwards. So you're not stuck with a dud player. So I like the look of him. That's why I'm considering him. Nailed on, fairly attacking, fairly decent defence, good fixtures. Alright, so at the start when I was talking about my team, I said that I might have to find a way to get Salah and have Cristiano Ronaldo, because obviously I'm going to need to captain someone in 25 from Man United, right? I know a lot of people will talk about Salah, etc. Mentioned this already, but I am going to captain a double game week player because this is FPL and that is what you do, right? But if I do that, if I find a way to get Salah that I'm happy with and I've got a pretty good squad elsewhere, then when Ronaldo's had the double, obviously there are some okay fixtures afterwards, but there is potential then to sell him. Now there's 2 ways to go about it. Either I keep the money there and I go for Harry Kane, someone like that, or I reduce the money down. And again, that is undecided at the moment, but I do quite like the look of Harry Kane. I think he's got that Chelsea fixture out of the way. Southampton's okay. I don't know. Wolves and Man City in particular obviously is tough. Wolves is okay because it's at home. I wouldn't expect huge points, but I think this is a player that scored like 5 goals so far this season from 8.9 expected goals. I think he's underperformed so far this season, like 3.5 points per game. We would expect more for him, right? He's on penalties as well. I think that he and Spurs are starting to play more how Conte wants them to do it. Like, I don't think that he's necessarily going to get them playing like he did when he was at Chelsea, right? I just don't think they've necessarily got the squad for that. But I think Kane is looking better and better every time I see him play. So the fact that he's got Southampton, Wolves both at home and then Leeds in the next 4 game weeks, right? Man City's not ideal. But but that's pretty good. And there is a chance that Spurs get a double game week put into game week 26 as well. Now, it could be, I think, against Brighton. So Man City and Brighton is not that great, but 2 fixtures for Kane with Leeds, Everton afterwards is pretty decent. Now, whether or not selling Ronaldo to Kane is the play, or whether or not reducing the money in the forward line for Ronaldo is the play, I haven't decided yet. And obviously, if there's a free hit coming into play in game week 27, like if I decide that's the right way to go, then having him for that fixture doesn't matter anyway, because I could just free hit him in. So then it would be kind of Southampton, Wolves and Man City. So there's a lot to consider, but I think his underlying numbers, although they're slightly reduced from last year, I believe, they're still pretty good. And I think, yes, he hasn't performed so far in the amount of goals and assists, but I think that's coming. I think that is. And he is the kind of player you'd bet on. Obviously, if Son's back, that's even better, right? Son, yes, okay, he might take away or might add a few goals for Spurs. Otherwise, maybe Kane would score. But I think in general, he is just better for the team and better for Kane. And obviously, we saw last season how well they linked together as well. So I do like the idea of Kane. It's just, is 12.3 million when you're mostly going to captain Salah worth it? Like that, again, that game week 27 fixture might be a decent captaincy shout because Salah's not playing that week, but I don't really see from any of the other fixtures listed on screen where I would really captain him. Like if I just look at, so game week 24 Southampton at home, and game week 28 Everton at home as well, so 24 and 28, obviously Liverpool play Leicester this week. So if Salah's back, he's captain potential there. And in 28, I've not actually looked at Liverpool's fixture. Okay, it's West Ham at home, so it's not that easy, but you're probably still going to back Salah against West Ham over Kane against Everton. So is 12.3 million too much to spend for a player that I'm not going to captain? That all depends how the rest of the squad looks, and that's what I'm going to decide over the next coming weeks as well. But I've got my eye on Kane because I think he's looked sharp. I think Conte's got him playing well, and I think he's underperformed. The goals are going to come very soon. There we go. That's 3 players that I'm considering this week and beyond. Let me know what you think about them. Like, I know Robertson and Kane are quite expensive, but do they fit into your squads? Are you looking at how you can get them in? I do think over the next kind of game week 24, game week 25, we're going to see some people go like all in on the double. Some people will just have one player. Some people might not even captain a Man United player. It's going to be quite interesting how things go. And I do think, yes, there's a template. There always will be a certain core of players that you see in most squads. But I do think it's maybe a little bit of a time to go, not necessarily different for the sake of it, but I think we will see teams start to branch out differently as well. It's an interesting time. Anyway, more content this week. I'll start to ramp it up more and more, like kind of daily as we get closer to the deadline. Obviously, we're still over a week away, so I might spread out a little bit more. We'll see. Let me know in the comments below if there's any videos you want to see. Give this one a like if you enjoyed it. Hit subscribe if you enjoyed it. There's plenty more to come, and I'll see you again soon.